So I've been leveling up a wizard, and my oh my, the pain of it. Right from the start, when you're thrown into your first fight, you will immediately realize the struggle. Maybe not if you're a new player and haven't played any other class, but I certainly do. Look at this compared to when we go on a rogue. You see, we can only hit each enemy one at a time. It's like chipping away, just one and then the next and then the next. There's no ability to hit them all at once. So it freaking takes forever and it's so painful. You can see our HP is going down and down because, again, we can only kill them one at a time. Look at the exact same fight in comparison with, let's say, a rogue, where you have at least one ability that's going to hit all of them. You hit all of them, and you can see most of them are now already below half HP, and it's very easy to just finish them off with some at-wills, and that's it complete. Drastically lower time, at least like twice as fast. Now it's not just that, we're on level 2 now and we're going into kind of like a lair place where we have to fight like a boss. We do at least get a daily power which is going to hit everybody, thankfully. We also have a mount power which does as well, but even this AOE power, you still have tons of enemies. I'm just here to kill the boss and you have these swarms of adds. These are the guys who are the most lethal. When there's only one target, it's no problem. But when you have so many, it's all dodging and weaving and chipping away at them. Eensy weensy little bits. Oh, it drives me insane. And it doesn't stop here. You can see how long it's taking us. We have to kill each and every one of these adds, and the boss just keeps spawning more and more of them. We are gonna have to get rid of the adds before we can even have a chance to start burning down the boss, because otherwise we're just gonna lose too much of our hit points and end up dying and having to reset and come all the way back. And again, it doesn't stop here. We're in Pauper's Fields Hills and we're trying to get through the door, and well, we kind of just ran past all the enemies. At this point, we're level 3 and we have Repel, and we can put that on our tab power, which means we at least have somewhat of an AoE in a cone, but it's only 200 magnitude. It does nicely push back the enemies as well, which can also be on the flip side a negative. And you can see there's a ton of enemies here, and just having the only power, which is AoE of Repel, sure, when you get them grouped up and you can hit them all with it, it's good, but it's just still infuriating, and you can end up hitting like one guy rather than all of them. And you can see it's not stopping there. We got more and more zombies trudging in, and all we can do is like whittle away at them with our Ray of Frost when our encounters on cooldown, and our other 2 encounters are pretty useless with only having single target abilities. If we could have just killed the first group quicker, we wouldn't have had to deal with the previous groups that are taking their time to get here. And just waiting on Repel to come off cooldown is just, Finally get to the boss room, and at least here the boss is going to help me out a bit, since he's going to kill and hit the zombies when he attacks like that and we avoid him. But continuing with our leveling, when we get to level 4, we finally get another AoE power, which is Icy Terrain. It does help us out here a little bit. We've got, again, a ton of enemies grouped up. We get them in a choke point. We stick our Icy Terrain down there. At least some of them will get frozen and slowed. But still, you're whittling away at them, waiting on your Repel. And it's just a utterly bad combo. An area of effect you put on the ground, Icy Terrain, and then you're going to have to expect them to stand in it. So they're all attacking you. You'd have to stand in it and take all the hits, or you run away and then they all follow you and then they're not in your Icy Terrain. And on top of that, your only other AoE attack power is Repel, which just pushes them right out of that Icy Terrain. This was one of my toughest fights. We had so many enemies. Just have a look at them all coming. But fortunately, we are a wizard. We do have our Repel, and so we can get around them and just give a bunch of them a shove and they just go flying off. Sure, the wizard has that perk, but there's very little areas in which you can actually use that to your benefit. And then we're just literally dodging and weaving through these enemies, sticking our Icy Terrain down, repelling a bunch more off the edge, just trying to make sure we run away, use our health potion, and we're just chugging through those health pots. Sure, you get a lot of gold just by leveling, so that's not such a big deal. But as a new player, you might not even know how to buy potions. I do intend to go over like a new players leveling tips video, and we'll definitely have a few things like that in there. I will say one of my most infuriating fights was right here in Ebon Downs, the Crypts of Kellamvor. I just entered this room and there was like one group of enemies, and then all of a sudden they just start pouring out of the woodwork and they just deal so much damage. You can see we're so close to dying there. And yeah, it's just so painful on a wizard here. Like on a rogue you can go invisible, on a ranger you have multiple more AoE powers, on a barbarian you have a bunch more AoE powers along with your rage mechanic to just take less damage. Anyway, sorry for this rant, but compared to all other classes I have leveled up, the wizard by far was the most painful, by at the very least, taking twice as long as any other class. So many ads and you can barely do much to all of them. You have your repel, which you can just about hit them all, and you have your icy terrain, which just tickles them. And for the rest it's all single target, so you're just hitting one by one by one. You have no AoE at will. And for the rest we're hiding behind pillars trying to not take a lot of damage, and we're here for like 10 minutes straight in this freaking one room trying to kill each and every zombie because we can't get away from them. We have to interact with this statue to pick up our objective. I will say this fight was one of the most satisfying. We have a bunch of grave robbers here and indeed a pit to our right there. We get around them, nice good old repel, and poof, that just insta kills two of them with this guy left. I don't know why he didn't die. But these boss fights are a breeze when you don't have ads. It's so painful when you do on the wizard. But we kill this guy and that's that. Another really painful part was having that quest to kill freaking 50 zombies. And yeah, you're just pushing them away out of your icy terrain. They take less damage and you're just here forever. We've killed 15 out of 50. This quest took us like nearly freaking 20 minutes just because it takes freaking forever to kill these guys. You're waiting on your cooldowns so much. Okay, rant over. We finished Ebon Downs, we got to level 11 and we have to choose our Paragon path. We're going to continue leveling from here and I'll make a video to showcase how long did it ultimately take me for my wizard. And that would somewhat reflect more so, I believe, for let's say a new player starting out with kind of the worst case scenario. I have the general know-how of the mechanics of the game, how to position myself, how to avoid damage, etc, etc, how to make the most of the powers that I do have on my repertoire. You can see leveling up you will unlock a series of different powers and you really have to put that repel on your tab in order to have that first AoE power. If you didn't do that, you're stuck without freaking an AoE power until you get icy terrain, which barely tickles them with a freaking 20-second cooldown. And then you get a shield on level 7, which is utterly useless for killing enemies. It just pushes them so far away, and the cast time you end up taking more damage than you gain by shield through this. It's ridiculous. But the daily power arcane singularity is pretty awesome, but getting daily powers are so infrequent. And once you get to that level 11 mark, you can choose your arcanist or thaumaturge. I'm not exactly quite sure which one is the best for dealing lots of AoE damage. We can have a look through the encounter powers. Fanning the flame, set your enemy ablaze, that seems to be single target. Icy Rays also seems to be single target. Chill Strike also seems to be single target. Conduit of Ice turns an enemy, also single target. Fireball, at least that seems to be AoE, and that's about it. So I don't think I'll be taking Thaumaturge. Go to Arcanist, we have Lightning Bolt, at least somewhat a little bit of AoE. Disintegrate, single target. Steel Time, at least somewhat bit of AoE. Arcane Tempest, nice, it's AoE there, and then Arcane Conduit, single target. I think I will definitely take Arcanist, especially because you get an AoE at will with Storm Pillar. So choosing our Arcanist, we can see what we will get when we level up. Lightning Bolt's a little bit more AoE on level 13, Disintegrate single target, Steal time. 17, at least we get another AoE, and Arcane Tempest, we at least get a bit more AoE there. And then immediately, which is great, we get Storm Pillar, which is this guy, which you can place down this pillar of lightning basically, which will attack all enemies around, which is really good, and it'll help you generate action points along with just dealing damage to multiple enemies. And that's definitely the way to go. And we'll see going from here, level 11 to level 20, does our killing time get any quicker? And yes, I have not been using anything on my character outside of what the game gives me, buying some of the seals gear for a bit of upgrades there, and that's it. We have our companions as such, we have our mounts as such, not using any of the juicy account wide stuff I could be using, and that is because I'm trying to get the experience as a new player. But again, I will know a little bit more of the mechanics, how to position myself, when to use my powers, etc, etc. So I will have a little bit of an edge over, let's say, a newer player. But if you're a new player coming from a game similar to Neverwinter, then you'll probably find it just as easy to combat here. So overall, hopefully this rant was at least somewhat enjoyable and insightful, and I really hope Cryptic could do something, especially for the early levels of the wizard. They seriously need a power boost there. Just taking forever to kill those enemies is infuriating, especially when you compare it to other classes who can just breeze through them with some AoE powers like freaking Rogue has. Easy peasy. Already on level 2 you got 2 AoE powers, with on level 4 another really good CC one, so they can't even damage you for a full 6 seconds while you stand in it. And then you got your stealth mechanic, so you essentially have 3 encounter powers. One you can use while invisible, you can run past enemies, not take damage. Oh my god, it's so much easier on a rogue. So we will ultimately compare the leveling time for a rogue versus a wizard, and we can showcase what's kind of a realistic leveling time for a new player based on what I get with my wizard here. So I'd like to give a special thank you to all of these lovely channel members for the continued support. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing. See you guys around. Goodbye for now.